The mask. Sunlight is formed by the union of different colours. In the rainbow, we can clearly distinguish 7: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. When light meets an object, it is partly absorbed and partly reflected. If an object reflects all the colours in the same way, it will appear white. Instead, if an object absorbs all the other colours reflecting only the red, it will appear red. What happens with water that is transparent? To find out, let's follow the sunlight as it encounters the surface of the water. A certain part of the light rays is reflected, while the rest manages to penetrate the surface. The reflected rays bounce on the surface and their light cannot penetrate the water. The amount of rays that are reflected and those that fail to pass through the surface vary from point to point. As soon as the ray enters the water, it slows down due to the higher density of the medium it has to pass through. This slowing down means that if the ray is not exactly perpendicular to the surface, it is deviated a few degrees, a phenomenon called refraction. As it travels downwards, the light passes close to the water molecules and the suspended particles, and it undergoes small random deviations, a phenomenon called diffusion, dispersing the light rays in different directions. The greater the path of travel, the depth, the greater the diffusion. Sharp shadows disappear and the light seems to come from many different directions. There is another phenomenon that interests us. Water molecules absorb light. So red light advances with greater difficulty because it has less energy than the other colours. It is absorbed first and disappears just a few meters below the surface. In order to be able to see colours better at depth, you need a light. The use of equipment such as underwater dive light is complex for the first level freediver. Later, as you improve your freediving skills, a dive light will become an indispensable tool for freediving or underwater photography. Manufacturers produce very small lamps that are suitable for freediving. The mask is the first and most important item of equipment that will allow you to dive under the water. Man is a terrestrial animal, so his eyes are shaped to see well in air, not in water. In order to be able to see in the water, it is necessary to create a cushion of air that comes in contact with the eyes. This is what the mask does. It is essential for the nose to be incorporated into the mask, as it is indispensable in the maneuver of equalization of the air cushion. Therefore, swimming goggles are not suitable for freediving activities. To carry out the equalization maneuver, the mask must allow the nose to be closed by pinching it with the fingers from the outside. A mask is usually formed by one or more lenses, a rigid frame and a soft facial skirt. All these elements must be well combined so as to achieve the optimal compromise between a wide field of vision and a reduced internal volume of air. The fundamental difference between a free diving mask and a mask for scuba diving is the different volume of air it contains. For free diving, ease of equalization is favoured rather than a wide field of vision because the air used to equalize the mask is taken from our lungs. So the less air volume contained in the mask, the less air is needed to equalize for it during the descent. Today, technical masks specific for freediving exist on the market that reduce to a minimum the air volume between the face and the glass of the mask. The masks used almost always have two lenses, and having a smaller internal volume, they bring the eyes closer to the lenses, which considerably increases the field of vision. Masks with two lenses also offer the possibility of using optical lenses for people who have problems with their eyesight. Another solution is to use a normal mask and wear soft contact lenses. it would be better to use disposable contact lenses, as they could get lost if the mask is flooded. The soft part of the mask, the skirt, acts as a seal to keep the air on the face. The skirt is generally made of silicone, a soft, comfortable and hypoallergenic material. There are also transparent or semi-transparent versions, not recommended for spearfishing activities. No item of freediving equipment is as subjective as the mask. What might be an excellent mask for some, for others may be completely unusable due to the different shape of their face. To check if the mask is suitable, the best and most effective method remains that of placing the mask on your face and inhaling through your nose. The mask should create a suction effect, meaning that it adheres to the face and remains attached even without it being held in place with the hands or the strap. To be sure that the shape of your face is the same as it would be in the water, we recommend that when you try the mask, you should also place the mouthpiece of the snorkel in your mouth. You must also pay attention if you have a beard, or especially a moustache, as this can often be a potential point of infiltration. Another problem that affects many freedivers is that of mask fogging, especially when it is new. To prevent the mask fogging, you have to do two things. Occasionally, rub the inside of the glass well with an abrasive product to remove any deposits. Instead, immediately before each dive, when the mask is still dry, spread surfactants on the inner side of the glass using your fingers. You can use liquid soaps or shampoos that are not irritating to the eyes, special liquids, or more simply your saliva. After that, fill the mask with a little water to dilute the surfactants, and leave the water in it until it is time to put it on. At this point, empty it and put it on. You will see that during your dive, it will not fog up. However, if the glass in your mask was not completely dry before you carried out this operation, it is likely that after a short time, some condensation will form on the inside of the glass. As we have already seen, the ray of light passing from air to water is deflected a few degrees. Due to the deviation of the rays, the objects seen with the mask appear larger. The big fish you encountered is actually smaller. Moreover, due to the alteration of the dimension, it seems that the objects are closer. Do not be surprised if the first few times you try to grab something, like a line, you miss it. The snorkel. The snorkel plays a fundamental role for the freediver. It is in fact the item of equipment that allows you to breathe while keeping your face immersed. The snorkel is also essential for practicing relaxation exercises before freediving. The snorkel consists of two parts, the tube and the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece is the terminal part that we keep in our mouth while breathing. The shape and size of the snorkel are very important because in order to perform its function correctly, it must allow the freediver to breathe in and out effortlessly and allow them to always be able to inhale fresh air. For example, a tube that is too wide or too long retains a lot of exhaled air, so during inhalation a large part of the air drawn inside the lungs is that exhaled previously and already used. On the other hand, a tube that is too narrow makes the act of inhaling difficult. There are very different models on the market, both for materials and for shape and accessories, such as purge valves, a corrugated or folding bend, curved anatomical tubes, etc. However, most of these models are dedicated exclusively to scuba diving. The simplest models, consisting of a long, thin, straight or curved tube connected to a mouthpiece through more or less extensive bend, are those more suitable for freediving. The most common tube mouthpiece joint rotates so as to adapt to different face shapes. The mouthpiece is made of silicone or soft rubber, and since it must be kept in the mouth for a long time, it should be comfortable. Rounded edges, no molding deburring, slightly curved pre-shaped mouthpiece to fit the dental arch better, and suitably thick bite wings to avoid them being easily bitten through. Various attachment systems connecting the snorkel to the mask strap may be mounted on the tube. However, not all freedivers use them because many have the habit of taking the snorkel out of their mouth each time they dive under the water. This maneuver allows a spear fisherman to avoid the gurgling sound that is caused by air bubbles coming out of the tube during the descent. It also avoids drag and vibrations at greater depths. Not having the mouthpiece in the mouth during the descent also allows the jaw muscles to relax, and having the mouth closed also facilitates equalization techniques. During the course, your PSS instructor will show which snorkel is best suited to the activities you'll be doing, and you will also learn how to remove it from your mouth. The fins. To run in air, you have to overcome the resistance that this gas opposes to your advancement. In practice, you have to move the air molecules that are in front of you and shift others behind so as to occupy the void left by the displacement of your body. When you enter the water, because of the greater density of water compared to air, you have to move a much larger number of molecules. The resistance to advancement is therefore greater, and beyond a certain limit, your muscle power becomes insufficient. To move in the water, it is necessary to use a different method of movement. Swimming. At the end of the Second World War, divers learned to swim effectively underwater thanks to an invention that is fundamental to our activity: fins. Over the years, studies on hydrodynamics have caused the shape of the fins to change considerably. We have gone from short rubber fins to long carbon fibre ones. A fin is even more valid when with the same effort it allows us to move a greater distance. The effort produced by our legs is our real engine, and as such must be fully translated into propulsive thrust. This requirement is much more accentuated in freediving than scuba diving. When freediving, the dive times are dictated by the duration of the oxygen in our lungs, and therefore it must be exploited to the utmost. Most freediving fins have interchangeable blades, so it is possible to just change the blade while retaining the same shoe. Two features are essential: the full-foot shoe and the long blade. Very often, we tend to overlook the importance of the shoe in favour of the blade. Instead, a good shoe is essential for effective and comfortable finning. The foot pocket transmits the effort of the legs to the blade, so there must be no energy losses at this stage. The loss of energy could be caused either by a foot pocket that is too large, or on the contrary, by an uncomfortable fitting shoe, which with time makes it difficult to fin correctly. An uncomfortable fit can cause circulatory problems to the foot, tingling, numbness and cold. The characteristics of a good fit that result in the best possible performance must be comfort and a snug fit. The foot pocket must therefore be made of soft rubber around the toes, the heel and the upper part of the shoe. On the contrary, it must have a rigid sole in order to obtain greater thrust. The numbering varies by 2 sizes at a time, so it is very important when trying them on to always remember in what conditions will the fins normally be used, meaning with what kind of socks they will be worn. By switching from a thick sock to a lighter one, you might have problems as the fin will no longer fit snugly. This type of problem can be solved by changing the shoe according to the season, but keeping the same blades. This is just one of the advantages of the technical fins for freediving that have interchangeable blades. The size and hardness of the blades must be chosen carefully taking into account the numerous factors which influence performance. Long blade fins are essential for diving to deeper depths. However, they can also be a hindrance and more tiring for descents in shallow water. And when moving around on the surface, a slightly shorter fin is easier to manage in these situations. The hardness of the blade is another very important factor, perhaps the most essential one. There is no set hardness of the blade suitable for all needs, but there are many different types of blades, from plastic to different carbon compounds, all with different hardnesses. If a lot of weight is used, as in the case of a somewhat stout freediver who dives to shallow depths, a medium hard blade would be best. If, on the other hand, just a little weight is used, as in the case of a slim freediver who goes to great depths, a soft blade would be better. Even athletes for their deep dives are orienting their choice towards a soft blade, preferring some extra movement to the greater effort needed for the harder blades. There are numerous factors that help determine which combination of shoe and fin blade is ideal. Your PSS instructor will guide you in choosing the fins best suited to the freediving activities you will be doing. The wetsuit. When we indicate a temperature in terms of hot or cold, we refer mentally to air that is still. In fact, the human body perceives cold proportionally to the heat that is exchanged, a form of energy whose quality is measured by the temperature. As a result, bodies with higher temperatures give up heat to those with lower temperatures. Since the average temperature of our body is 36.5 degrees, our skin in contact with water at a lower temperature loses heat. The same happens in the air, but with an important difference. The air, if it is still, is a bad conductor of heat. By wearing clothes, we trap a layer of air around our body. Therefore, once this layer of air has been heated up, heat loss is greatly reduced. If we are in the sea in just our swimwear, the heat we transmit to the water is immediately dispersed into the environment, and we continue to lose heat. Even if we trap a layer of water in contact with our body with our clothes, we will still be colder than in the air. In fact, to heat the layer of water, we have to give up 4 times more heat than what is needed to heat a similar layer of air. In addition, water, whose molecules are closer than those of air, conducts heat 20 to 25 times faster, so heat loss will also occur faster than in air. Ultimately, in water, we cool down more quickly, and special equipment is needed in order to maintain our body temperature. The wetsuit is in practice a close-fitting suit made mostly of neoprene, capable of limiting heat loss. Comfort and freedom of movement are the requirements that a snorkeler's equipment must guarantee. Protection, power and safety are the characteristics that a freediver looks for in his equipment. Wrapped in your wetsuit, the way of being in the water becomes a little less natural, but it is certainly more comfortable from the point of view of staying warmer. And it also allows you to enjoy the incredible beauties of the underwater world for much longer. The wetsuit provides protection against pointed rocks, sharp concretions and stinging corals, and also offers protection against sunburn on the surface. Neoprene is produced in different thicknesses and is a material that looks like a rubber. For wetsuits, the neoprene is treated in such a way as to imprison tiny bubbles of gas bubbles in it. The insulating action is carried out by the gas that is trapped in the bubbles, air or nitrogen. As it is waterproof, neoprene also manages to trap a layer of water around the body and therefore performs a function similar to that of clothes in the air. The classic wetsuit for freediving is a 2-piece wetsuit with an incorporated hood, without a zipper and with high-waisted pants. The 2-piece suit allows you to be comfortable and free in your movements and allow the movements of the upper limbs to be independent of the lower ones. A hood that is incorporated into the top half of the suit is especially important from the point of view of warmth because it limits the infiltration of water down the back. The surface of the neoprene used to make the wetsuits can be lined or unlined. If the suit is lined internally, it is easier to put on, while an unlined one guarantees better thermal insulation as it adheres perfectly to the skin. When using a non-lined neoprene suit, it is suitable to wet it first with soapy water to make putting it on more comfortable and faster. The outer surface of the suit can also be in lined or unlined neoprene. Unlined neoprene dries very easily and becomes a good insulator even when in contact with air. This is why this type is recommended in the colder months when boat or dinghy trips are necessary. Lined neoprene also has the advantage of offering more resistance to tears. The thickness of the neoprene varies in relation to the water temperature. A 5mm wetsuit is ideal for water temperatures not lower than 21 degrees Celsius. If, on the other hand, the temperature of the water is lower, thicker neoprene is necessary. However, using a thicker wetsuit leads to a reduction in comfort and less freedom of movement, and this is why many freedivers prefer to use an undersuit. If the temperature of the water allows, that is when it exceeds 25 degrees Celsius, you may also choose to use a one-piece wetsuit. The one-piece wetsuit is particularly suitable for freediving training in a pool. The most important feature to consider when buying a wetsuit for freediving is how well it fits. The suit must fit snugly and comfortably without hindering the movements of the arms and legs. Furthermore, it must not compress the rib cage, so it is easy to breathe when you are on the surface. It is also important that the suit fits well around the wrists, the neck and the ankles, so as to prevent a lot of water getting in. However, it must not be so tight as to hinder the circulation of the blood. A wetsuit that is suitable is the one that keeps you sufficiently warm for the duration of the activity you are carrying out. The onset of shivering is a clear sign of dangerous lowering of body temperature. In this case, you have to get out of the water immediately and warm up. Dry yourself, change into dry clothes and drink something warm. On the other hand, the opposite problem could also occur. Staying in the sun while wearing the wetsuit can easily cause the body to reach high temperatures, which could lead to heat exhaustion or even sunstroke. If you notice that you are getting too warm, wet the suit with a bucket of water or jump into the sea. Socks, gloves and hood. Wearing a wetsuit without protecting your feet, hands and head means losing a lot of heat. The socks are made of neoprene foam of thicknesses from 1mm to 5mm. Freedivers prefer soft socks, that is, without a sole, suitable for use with closed full-foot fins. Even the gloves are made in different thicknesses of neoprene foam. The hood is normally incorporated into the two-piece wetsuit. However, with a one-piece suit, it is possible to wear a separate hood. It is very important that the hood fits snugly but does not compress the neck too much. Excessive compression at the level of the carotid artery could give rise to a feeling of nausea and suffocation, leading to collapse. Flotation system and surface marker. The surface marker signalling system is mandatory for every freediver in the water. In almost all the nations of the world, freedivers in the water have an obligation to signal their position with a surface marker buoy, on which a specific flag, visible from all directions and from a good distance, must be placed. Generally, but not always, the diver's flag is red with a white diagonal stripe and must be visible from at least 300 meters away. If the diver is accompanied by a support boat, the flag can be flown from the boat itself. If you go to other countries, it is best to get information about the local regulations because the signalling system used in your own country may not be appropriate. There are different types of floating buoys on the market, ranging from the classic spherical buoy to the torpedo, to the rigid base, to the inflatable base, etc. Many instructors and athletes use special buoys for freedivers during their activities at sea. This is a large inflatable ring, about 80 centimeters in diameter, providing very positive buoyancy, able to support the weight of the bottom plate, the weight of one or more freedivers and any spare lead weights. The visibility of the buoy makes you not only more noticeable to boat users, but also more easily visible to your dive buddy if you accidentally lose sight of each other. The surface marker buoy is not only a mandatory tool, but it is also an extremely important piece of equipment for your safety in the water. Caring for equipment. All the equipment will last a long time with a little but essential care. At the end of each excursion, it is good to rinse it with fresh water without chlorine, which can damage it. Due to the presence of chlorine, you will need to rinse them even after using it in the pool. Let it dry in the shade and do not expose it to the sun, as its rays damage the materials. Keep the fins horizontal so as not to damage the tip of the blade or the shoe pocket. Reposition the appropriate inserts into the shoes in order to preserve their shape. The mask and the snorkel must be stored away from rubber, otherwise the silicone with which they are made will become stained. It is best to put them in a plastic bag. The mask can also be stored in its own case if one was given to you when you purchased it.